Welcome everybody to Insights in Action with Orange 142. Today I am joined by Taylor Frame of Best Practice Media. Taylor, how's it going this morning?
Epic. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor, I just want to start this podcast off. I would love to learn a little bit more about you and your agency just to start.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm the Chief Revenue Officer. We've been around since 2015. And essentially, customers come to us with one core problem, which is I need new customers every single week. How do we do that?
Mhm.
Right. In today's landscape. And so we've been spending almost the last decade solving that problem for customers. Our specialty is e-commerce brands that are looking to scale very quickly. So we work mostly with 7 and 8 figure e-com brands. And our niche is we build acquisition funnels. And we have an acquisition funnels is just a fancy way of saying new people that are buying the product for the first time. The main thing we use is paid advertising to get these new folks into the brands. But our little trick, our little party trick is that we have built a system called Profit First funnels, which is when you acquire a new customer, how profitable is that first customer? And we actually tie marketing into your profit and loss statement. And we connect these two things together. So that's kind of our fun little party trick that we've developed over the last 10 years. And it's been working really well.
That's awesome. And I wanted to touch on that profit first funnel concept because I think that's definitely what caught my eye as I was checking out your agency. I know that you guys combine that marketing and accounting to drive profitable growth. How do you ensure that this hybrid approach consistently delivers both short-term wins and long-term profitability for clients?
That's a really great question. So the short answer is that we're actually taking your costs of running your business. So let's take a dress brand, for example. You've got $100 dress. We actually find out what does it cost to make the dress? What is the cost of fulfilling that? What's the cost of customer service? What are your returns? And we have a whole program we put you through that spits out a number,
Mhm.
right? And then that number is extrapolated out based on your average order value for the last 6 months on your website. And we build a green, yellow, and red zone. Okay. And your green zone is, hey, we're acquiring customers profitably. So we're looking at return on ad spend, ROAS, and we're looking at cost per acquisition on that first purchase, right? So that's your green zone. Then there's a yellow zone, which is like, hey, we're breaking even. And then there's a red zone, which meaning we're losing money on that first purchase, right? So for this dress example, we can toggle between those three zones based on what you want as a founder, right? So let's say we're in Black Friday, we're like, man, I actually am okay with break even. So let's scale as fast as we can and acquire as many customers. And then we'll go back into the green come January and February. But we're one of the first agencies that's actually bringing this information so that you, as the founder, can make informed decisions and not just get mad at your marketing agency all day.
Yeah. That's a really interesting approach to it because you hear it all the time, right? Ecom founders and agency founders, they come in with one problem. It's I want more customers, but they don't ever look at the back end numbers of what that requires. So having that as this unique thing that you guys do, I'm sure a lot of clients really appreciate that.
It's a game changer. Let me share a quick example.
Sure.
We took on this client that they're an accessories brand. So they make handkerchiefs, jewelry, some hats, right? So great business model. Last year during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they spent more money on ads than they ever have in the past. They like tripled their budget. And obviously they got a lot of revenue. But when they actually settled down and ran the numbers, they were negative like 100K during that month, right? And they had done record revenue. I think they spent over 200K on ads in November, right? So these aren't small numbers, but they thought their agency was telling them the whole time, you are crushing it, increase ad spend.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were getting a good ROAS and good CPA, but they hadn't tied that in to the actual costs of running the business. So when the dust settled, the founder was like, I wouldn't have made those same decisions, right? So that's the magic. It's like we have to look at the full picture, and that's what a lot of people are not doing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this is where it differs from like local lead gen agencies with their clients to e-commerce agencies, because most people just look at CPA and ROAS. And if that ROAS is really high, they think, oh wow, this is amazing. And that's not usually telling the full story. So that's a really cool approach that you guys are taking. And I want to touch on that a little bit more because I know that you guys are passionate about helping founders navigate the complex world of digital growth. What do you think is the biggest misconception that founders have when it comes to scaling their brands through digital channels?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about, but let me do top two.
Mhm.
Okay. The first one is that if you're a relatively successful brand, you have to realize that the landscape has changed over the last year. It's harder, it's more competitive, it's more expensive. So a lot of brands are judging their success on stuff they did in like 2020 or 2021. Those results were a microcosm where people were crushing,
Yeah.
right? And so the first thing is patience. Realize that the game has changed. Look at the data for the last year. That's a little more accurate representation data of what your brand can do, right? So patience, it's been a lot more thorough. It's been a lot smarter. It's like actually looking at the data and making decisions. So that's the number one tip. The second tip is that you have to put yourself in your consumer's shoes. And you have to ask the question, it's a simple one. Why should I buy this product from my brand as opposed to my competitors? And if you cannot answer that in a pretty succinct, compelling way, you're going to be in trouble. Like it's going to be hard because the consumers, dude, inflation's gone up, our options have gone up, cost of living's gone up. No matter what income bracket you fall into, we're all feeling that. And so if you can't articulate why your brand needs to be in your consumer's life, no matter how good your funnel is, it's going to be hard to sell that. So those are my two top tips. Be patient, understand what problem you're solving for your customer, and double down on that.
That's fantastic. And I'm assuming that's something that you guys help your clients clarify if they can. Is that correct?
Yeah, man, always. Like people will come to us and be like, hey, I need a 10x ROAS. And I'm like, so do I. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And then we actually run the numbers and we look at what's going on in their business. And if there's areas that we can uncover, we 100% do that. But it's about setting realistic expectations. Here's a fun little stat. Over the last year, we have not had a customer leave being like, I hate you guys. You lied to us. You told us like unicorns and rainbows and then delivered a pony, right? Like
Yeah.
the only clients that have left have been like, okay, you showed us exactly what you were going to do. It was very realistic. You walked us through it. And maybe paid marketing isn't where we need to be focused. Right. And that as an agency has felt really, really good.
That's awesome. And that's such a different way to look at things because most agency owners or executives are always looking at how can we get that client and keep them for as long as we can, rather than this abundance mindset that you guys seem to have, where it's like, hey, if we can help you in any way that we can, we will. And that's a really cool, refreshing way to look at it.
Yeah. There's enough out there for everybody. And we've been in this game for a long time. And our methodology is now like slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And a lot of brands come to us with this really frantic energy.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hey, we're not going to make or break your brand in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going from 100K a month to $1 million a month overnight. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen. This is a long game. And that's why I go back to that first thing, patience. Like these are things that we build for a long time and we can see amazing results, but we calm a lot of people down.
Yeah.
We're like slow and steady, my friend.
Yeah. Man, you said that the slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I've done jujitsu for a long time. That's what our coach always tells us. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It's so applicable in so many different areas, but it It's one of those like timeless principles that works across anything, which is really cool. And
Yes, love that.
you've developed a team I know that executes at a high level without requiring clients to hire internally. How do you maintain that level of execution and ensure alignment with the client's vision and goals?
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's like the $1,000,000 question, right? We've spent the last year, we actually took our foot off the gas in terms of growth, and we really spent the last year building out our team and our systems. And here's the ironic thing. This last year, and this is not to like pat ourselves on the back, but this last year we tripled in revenue.
Wow.
And it was crazy, right? And to do that, we had to hire a bunch of people. So we have 25 people on staff right now, full-time W-2 employees here in the US. We have 2 job offers right now that hopefully they accept. If they're listening to this, please accept. Uh, and so we'll be at 27 next week. And here's what we've done is we have been maniacal
Mhm.
about systems, processes, and repeatability. And we have this internal saying, and I don't know how popular this is going to be, but we say no special snowflakes.
Mhm.
So if you come into our agency as a client and you're trying to tell us how to do our job and you want all these random special things, I've been doing this long enough to know those aren't going to work. Like I know this space better than you do, and I'd say you like as the client, right? There's a reason I've dedicated my life to this,
Yeah.
is we do it really well, and so we gently guide them on saying, no, here's the stuff that we need to deliver. We can do some light customization, but no special snowflakes.
Mhm.
Like this system we built works really well.
Yeah.
And most founders, after a couple weeks, they're like, you know what? You're right. This does work really well. You do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. And then we run together. But man, it is systems and processes. We've
Mhm.
spent the last year and honestly, hundreds of thousands of dollars building out that stuff. And it's made all the difference.
That's fantastic. And I've been listening to acquisition stuff lately. I've kept hearing that over and over again. Like 0 to 1 million as a company is really about just like pushing as hard as you can to get to that. And then once you get to like 1 million, anywhere the 1 million to 5 million is all about systems and processes. So it's really cool to hear that you guys actually took a step back. Most companies or agencies wouldn't do that to be like, okay, where can we invest in more people? Because that's what takes, I think, as far as I've heard, I haven't been part of that myself, but that's what takes you really to the moon. And I'm assuming that's what the goal is for you guys eventually too, and help as many people along the way as you can.
Yeah. And just to be kind of transparent, this is my second agency that I've taken from 6 figures to mid 7 figures. And it is everything is systems and processes. And here's the trick is it lowers everyone's stress.
Mhm.
So now my team, when they wake up in the morning, they know exactly what they need to do. And my clients know exactly what to expect. That's in our onboarding, it's in our contracts, it's in our check-ins. Like everything is systemized and smooth and steady. And so the fire drills go down, right? And now the founder, their stress is minimized so they can make better decisions.
Mm.
And my team is not stressed so they can make better decisions. And it's this idea, once again, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And that's what we've built our whole agency on.
That's awesome. And yet, I know that best practice media focuses on high growth e-commerce brands. Just to bring it back to the types of clients you guys work with a little bit here. How do you view the potential for collaboration with other agencies or specialized teams to enhance your guys' offerings or tackle like particularly complex growth challenges? I'm sure you have those.
Yeah. So what we focus on is pretty granular, right? We're on new customer acquisition.
Okay.
Once we get that customer, we kind of hand it over to the brand. So we don't do email marketing. We don't do nurture marketing. We do some content creation. So everything from click to conversion, we're controlling for our clients.
Okay.
But past that, like, do we collaborate with a lot of other agencies? So we collaborate with branding agencies. We collaborate with website agencies. We collaborate with email marketing agencies. We even collaborate with like fractional CMO firms. So we're not like we play nice in the sandbox with a lot of people because it takes a lot of talent to go from like mid 7 to 8 figures. But yeah, we're essentially we try to stay in our lane as much as possible, which is acquisition.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And that's the same with our agency. We try to focus on one thing really. We don't do branding creative, just like you guys. We focus on top of funnel, that programmatic and that CTV, OTT. And what it does, I think relate the agency world is so relationship based compared to a lot of other industries. And so it really 5, 10 years ago, agencies were trying to do it all. They were like, well, we do this, 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 and this. And I think customers love that. And I don't think customers have stopped loving that. It's just that now agency executives, agency owners have become wise to the fact like, hey, if we stick to what we do best, and then we have amazing partners that we work with on all these other things, then everybody wins. The client wins, we win, and the other agency wins as well. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it is so hard to build a very solid, sustainable agency.
Mhm.
If you're trying to do like 10 different things, look, you may be a savant and can figure it out. Most people cannot.
Yeah.
And so when I hear like a small firm that's like 5 to 10 people being like, oh, we do everything. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I've been in the space long enough to know you don't do everything.
Yeah.
And if you do everything, there's maybe 2 things that you do well, and the rest is super mediocre.
Yeah.
And like it took me a long time to figure that out, but that's become very real.
Yeah. Taylor, I feel like, man, I feel like there's a whole other thing in this for you of just like, hey, let me just go in and scale your agency. Like that's your own little your niche. You understand it so well. And I think just in all the little things that you've done, I'm sure that there's something there for you. Have you thought about that? Just random question, but
Yeah, that's called a distraction. That's what that's called.
that's true.
That's
That's
called, let me take the thing that I built and I've made it really good and get
yeah,
distracted
that's fair.
and try to build something I know nothing about.
Yeah, does me. Yeah, you have all these really, really insightful tips, and I guess you use these types of mediums to really share that. But man, there's a lot of value there. And so for a little bit more, because I feel like I could hear you say tell us these tips forever. But for e-commerce brands that are ready to scale, aside from some of the tips that you've already given, what are a few other key tips that you would give them to truly tap into new customers and accelerate their growth?
Okay. So let me give 3 tips.
Okay.
So the first one is content is king. You need, or queen, however you want to phrase that. You need to be creating a lot of content, and you need to be testing a lot of content and then measuring those tests. Okay. So you've got to be creating a significant amount of content and then seeing how that content is actually performing in relation to click-through rate, book rate, and conversion rate. So 3 things you want to measure in that. So that's the first thing. If you're only doing a certain amount of content and your ad performance is starting to lag, you need to triple the amount of content you're performing, at least. That's like minimum. So content, number 1. Number 2, you need to understand your numbers on the full customer journey for that first purchase. How many ads are they seeing? How long is it taking them to buy? What's your average order value? What's your profit margins? Like, you need to know your numbers on that acquisition funnel. If you do not know those numbers inside and out, then you're never going to be able to figure it out. You have to understand those numbers. So first one is content. Number 2 is data. Know your numbers. And number 3 tip is you got to test. You got to test some stuff. So let me share a quick little story. We had this really cool collagen brand. They were focused on like CrossFit military dynamic. It's a little played out. That's a really competitive space, right?
Yeah.
We actually did a cohort analysis and we understood that there was a big percentage of their customers that were females 40 to 60 that were not from the military community and they were not CrossFitters, but they were buying this collagen because it was a really high grade collagen, helped them with their skin and hair. So we said, hey, I want to test this demographic. Let's build a funnel that has nothing to do with CrossFit or military.
Yeah.
I actually just want to focus on hair and skin health, and I want it to be all female focused. We doubled their ROAS on that funnel compared to the CrossFit and the military community.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, you got to test, you got to get creative, and you need data to influence that. So those are my 3 top tips. If you want to scale, you got to do those things.
That's fantastic. And I think a big part of that, especially that story that you told, like you mentioned a little bit, let the data tell the numbers, right? And let don't be so attached to one thing, one market. You see that all the time in a lot of different things. Like, hey, this is our market. This is what we think. We know what it wants, and it's a lot of times it doesn't end up being that way. So having that level of detachment, I think, is super great.
Crucial. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everything.
Well, Taylor, this has been super insightful. I'm super excited for everybody to hear this. Where can people find out more about you, and where can people find out more about your agency?
Yeah, of course. So our agency is bestpracticemedia.com.
Okay.
We have a bunch of information on the site, but you can also reach out and speak with my team. For everyone that reaches out, we will typically build a full 90-day plan for you of execution, and we'll audit your accounts for free.
Wow.
So if you're like a six-figure ecom brand trying to go to seven, or you're mid sevens trying to get to eight, we will lay out a whole strategy for you essentially for free. And you could walk away with that if you want. Most people say, oh, actually, this is pretty decent. I'd like to work with you guys. But if you're one of those people that just likes a lot of free stuff, we are pretty generous with our time and offering. So media.com, check us out. We'd love to help you.
Right. And I'll link everything in the show notes below so you guys can have easy access. Taylor, thank you so much for your time. This has been super insightful, and I'm excited.
I love your energy, man. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.